Hey there, viewers. It's your Birdman Johnson. Yeah, that one. Sitting upright at a table for the first time in a few days, or I should say, for the first time without getting really dizzy and trying to fall over. I have been sick this week, which has been a bit of a problem for keeping the content train rolling. So today we just have a little gameplay footage of web fishing. Immensely popular right now, so I'm told. I've just played it a little bit with some personal friends. Yeah, it's alright. If you're not familiar with it, pay attention. See what's going on. That's not really what we're talking about today. I figure I've only got so much upright energy left in me right now, so we're going to make this quick. Yeah, I've been sick this week, which is kind of annoying. Not the sickest I've ever been. Not COVID this time. I think it was just a bad cold or like a mild flu. Still put me down for a couple of days, which is annoying. I had COVID back in September, which didn't cause any problems for getting the uploads done because I already had it all done a few weeks in advance. So I just kept the uploads going and there wasn't a problem, but I got lazy this time. I actually had my whole schedule laid out for the week. I said, okay, if I get everything recorded and edited and uploaded on these days, then I'm all good to go. And then, so for a couple of weeks now, I've been feeling just sort of generally bad. Last week, I had to call out from work one night because of what I've been describing as general malaise. I just felt really bad. So I took the night off, I went to bed early, I felt okay. But for a couple of weeks now, I've had this ongoing congestion and scratchy throat, but I thought, well, I work outside. It's winter. I spend a lot of time yelling. We'll ignore it. And then around 9 o'clock on Monday, 9 p.m., I'm suddenly overcome by powerful chills. And I realized, oh no, something is actually wrong. So I went into the bedroom where my wife was, and I said, give me my pillows. I am sleeping on the couch. And that is where I've been. So I got to call out from work 2 weeks in a row. Can't wait to see the fallout from that. But, honestly, not too bad. I just mostly haven't had the energy to do anything. Not nearly the sickest I've ever been. That would be the swine flu, if anybody remembers the swine flu. That was pretty bad. It has been annoying because I've been all there cognitively this week. I just haven't had the wherewithal to do anything, or like to move at all, or really to eat food. So just being able to stand up and move to a table and record gameplay for about 20 minutes without wanting to fall over is pretty good in context. Kind of lost my train of thought there. You know those rare medical conditions where like you're all there cognitively, but you can't move your body or speak or interact with the world at all? I realize that to a certain extent that's what this has to feel like. Like I'm just lying there on the couch, right? So during a brief period where I had the wherewithal to move one arm, I reached over and grabbed my computer mouse and I'm scrolling Facebook, and this photo comes up in one of my feeds. It's a street scene from a town in Ukraine in the 1970s when they were part of the Soviet Union. And it's just a street scene showing off the cars and the architecture. At the time, there was a police traffic observation post in the shot. It was interesting. And so I get that centered on the screen and I'm looking at it and it's neat. And then somebody distracts me. Somebody comes over and talks to me or whatever. So I stop that, I set the mouse aside. And then I just kind of lose my motivation to move. So for the next few hours, I'm just sitting there, lying there, staring at this image on the screen, thinking to myself, I'm tired of looking at this, scroll to something else. Just reach out, grab the mouse, and scroll down the page. Click over to YouTube. Do something. Don't just keep staring at this little policeman in his little booth watching traffic. And I just couldn't bring myself to do it. And it was very aggravating, and I thought, oh, this must be what it's like for those people all the time. So I doubt any of those folks are watching this, but if you are, my heart goes out to you for whatever that's worth. Hope everyone else is doing okay out there. Ugh. Voice is doing weird things this week as well. That's not a surprise. I keep having this thing where the post-nasal drip triggers my gag reflex whenever I cough or try to blow my nose. And so I keep going to sneeze and then almost vomiting. Which doesn't usually happen to me, so that's kind of new. So that's not a lot of fun. But yeah, I hope everyone else is feeling okay this week. I'm not even immunocompromised or anything. Hey, remember before that word was plastered all over media all the time, immunocompromised? Obviously, it's always been a thing, but I feel like I never heard that term before 2020. I definitely knew people with compromised immune systems, but we didn't call it immunocompromised like in the early 2000s. And isn't that a weird thing to think about? We had a perfectly good technical term that I just don't remember ever using before approximately 2020. COVID changed everything. I had COVID in 2021, and it was my own fault. The same way I got it earlier this year, it was my own fault. I knew it was going around where I was, and I got lazy. You know, I'd been good about wearing my cover when I went out, staying away from people, sanitizing as necessary, and I just got sloppy. I ate from the breakfast buffet at the hotel, and that was probably the fatal error. I'm not going to say which hotel because I don't want to get sued, and I know it's not their fault. And then, of course, I made the mistake of going to the state fair in September. Well, I went to the state fair, the gym, and work on subsequent days, so I had a lot of opportunities to get sick, but it was probably the state fair. Swine flu I got going to the Penny Arcade Expo. When was that, like 2008 or 9? I'm not going to name names, but I know exactly who gave it to me. I can trace it back to patient 0, and I'm still mad about it. That was the sickest I've ever been. That was the first time I felt like I might actually die. So this, not so bad by comparison. And actually, the longer I'm upright, the more tired I'm getting, but the less dizzy I'm getting, so we'll call that a win. I have had friends in the past that we would now call immunocompromised. There was this one guy, sick all the time. I hung out with this guy for just like a couple of years, around 2010 or something like that. I went over to his apartment exactly once, and the guy was always sick with something, and he kept saying, oh, you know, I think I've got one of those conditions where you just don't have an immune system. And I'm thinking, yeah, okay, maybe. And then I went into his apartment, and I mean, it's full of garbage. You can tell that they never vacuum. The counters don't get wiped. His roommate's stoned out of his gourd on the couch watching, I think, Naruto or something, which is neither here nor there. It's just adding to the scene building. And I say to the guy, hey, is your apartment always like this? He says, yeah, pretty much. Why? And I said, well, I don't think you have a condition. I think you just live in filth and eat garbage. And he thinks about that for a moment. He says, no, that can't be it, because I've always lived like this. Oy. I mean, to be fair, he probably did have a condition. He'd probably been living in filth and eating garbage all his life up to that point, and it gave him a condition. Take care of yourselves, folks. I'm not saying you need to drown yourselves in hand sanitizer all the time. In fact, you probably shouldn't. But, you know, vacuum occasionally does wonders for the old immune system. going into work tonight. Not sure how that's going to go down. I'm obviously not having a good time here, and I'm not prepared to go out of my way to help anyone else have a good time tonight. So I hope it's a slow night. I mentioned before I work in an entertainment venue. It's raining right now. I need it to keep doing that, ideally harder, as hard as possible. I think a little moisture would do me some good. My phlegm is uncomfortably bloody. Listen, you should realize by now what you're getting into with this. We're almost done. Stick with me. I don't know where I'm going with this right now. Anyway, this is Webfishing. It's a cute little fishing game. Looks like Animal Crossing. It's not. You fish for things. You can punch people and play the lottery. It's a good time. I have no idea how much it is on Steam right now, but, you know, consider picking it up and fishing with your friends. I used to play a lot of fishing games when I was young. I've never really had much interest in fishing. I like fish. I just typically find the process of fishing very boring. But fishing video games have always kind of entertained me because they tend to be more rewarding than just going fishing, and I realize that there's a certain school of thought that says that the real reward is just going out and fishing. But listen, if I am going to the effort of getting the gear, getting the boat, going out on the lake, and, you know, throwing the line out there and waiting, I better be killing something by the end of the day, okay? That's my thought process. I'm not expending all this energy just to sit on a boat. I do like fish, though. The problem is, as a kid, obviously, I didn't really understand the mechanics of fishing, so I would always just use, like, the heaviest gauge line and the most obnoxiously colored tackle, and then just sling that sucker straight into a catfish's face. And because it was a video game, of course, that worked. Which is not quite how real fishing works. I have caught a few fish. It was actually a very important experience for me when I was very young. My parents took me fishing for the first time. I caught a bluegill and had to bludgeon it to death myself, which I think is a very important thing for children to have to do at some point. You know, we always say you should know where your food comes from, and I think bludgeoning a fish to death is probably going to be a little easier than slaughtering a cow, for example. Just the blunt end of a screwdriver, smash that sucker in the head, kills it pretty quickly. Some people let them suffocate. I don't care for that. There's no point in that. Sounds brutal, but this is how we get food, and food is how we build civilization. Although, as I've said before, civilization was a mistake. We never should have left the jungle. We should all just go back into the trees. Nobody pick up any rocks or sticks. Nobody discover fire. Just climb up a tree, eat your fruit, and be happy. Of course, if we were still living in that situation, whatever's wrong with me right now would probably kill me. A relatively minor illness can become quite extreme in that situation. Pardon me for a moment. I'm actually doing pretty well here. Might have to wear a cover when I go to work tonight. We're gonna see. The whole COVID situation, and this will not be a startling insight, but it was very frustrating for me in a number of ways, mainly because nobody could just be normal about it. And you know that anytime there's a disaster and the government starts telling people to do things, everyone's gonna get weird about it. You got two kinds of people. You got the one group who insists that nothing's wrong, everything's fine, and we just need to go about our business like the house is not on fire. And then you've got another group who are fleeing to a shelter from the moment the announcement gets made that something could possibly be wrong, even though they live all the way across town from where the fire's happening. I don't know why that's the metaphor I went with, but that's where we are. All you had to do was not sneeze on people, stay out of arm's reach of strangers, and apparently it's the hardest thing in the world to do this. I had so many more strangers try to touch me after the government started enforcing mask mandates than ever before. I will never understand that. I don't want strangers touching me under normal circumstances. Why are you standing so close to me, sir? I do not know you. And if I did know you, you would know better than to stand this close to me. 1 arm's length, it's for your protection, not mine. I think I stole that from a drill sergeant. I'm thinking about doing game reviews going forward. Not like in place of regular content, in addition to, as like an intermittent thing. If you have an opinion about that, drop that in the comments. Probably not any recent releases, probably older, somewhat obscure titles that I played when I was a kid. Does anybody remember the racing game Pod? I think that was by Ubisoft before they went evil. Not even evil, just incompetent. They're not necessarily malicious, they're just kind of dumb now. I used to really like Assassin's Creed. I own every Assassin's Creed. Mainly because people keep giving them to me as gifts. And you know, Origins was okay. I thought Odyssey was bad, and Ragnarok was just... It was incredibly underwhelming, and none of those three were really Assassin's Creed titles, and that really put me off. Anyway, this is not the review section. But, yeah, let me know if you have any thoughts on me doing game reviews for old, slightly obscure titles. I don't want that to be what the channel becomes about, but, it's a thought I had. I was having a discussion with a friend recently and mentioned that I didn't really play racing games, but I did, as a child, play this game called Pod a lot because it came bundled with our compact Rosario. And he said, "Oh, Pod, I played that all the time back in the day." And I realized that this was the first time I'd been talking to someone else who'd actually played the game. And I have no idea how popular that game actually was. Alright, I've suddenly gotten very fatigued, so I think we're about there. I don't know, maybe, maybe not. Hopefully we'll be on track for next week. I'm going to really grind on it. So apologies for the weird upload. My viewers do not miss their regularly scheduled uploads. That is not how this channel works. I realize I'm not exactly putting out the highest level content here, but you know what? I'm here. I'm here for you, and I'm here for my own entertainment, and we do not miss uploads on this channel. That is not what we do. Although maybe it would have been better to miss an upload than to put up this kind of weird non-content. I don't know. We're trying something. If it doesn't work, we won't do it again. I will not blame anyone for skipping this one. Alright, whatever. I gotta go lie down again for a little while before I go to work. So, you know the drill. Thanks for watching, folks. This has certainly been an event that has occurred. Side note, I was well underway recording the 100 subscriber special finally when this struck. So that was irritating, but that is actually happening, believe it or not. That'll hopefully be up by the end of the year, but January otherwise. I'm not making any promises, you know better than that. But we're gonna do our best. Ideally, we'll have some kind of Christmas special up. I don't know. That's the holiday I celebrate, so that's the special you're getting. Alright, I'm gonna go lie down. Thanks for whatever. Rapidly losing my train of thought. I'll see you folks next time. Birdman out.